Welcome back, golfers. Today we're going to talk about how to read your divot and how that's important to learn to help you better understand your golf swing. The golfers, today we're going to talk about divots. And divots are super important because that gives you so much information, because we don't always get to have the help of being able to see ourselves on video, not like a PGA Tour player, LPGA Tour player. So we need to be able to assess what we're feeling and compare it to what is actually happening. Those are two different things that are very challenging in golf and most sports. What we feel and what is actually happening in the golf swing. So the divot that you make in the ground with those mid irons, the short irons, is very important to kind of give us some information that we can take and figure out what's going on. Where do I need to make a change? Is what I'm doing what I thought I was doing, or am I getting different feedback from that divot than what I thought internally that I was gonna have? So today we're going to talk about different types of divots, different cause and effects from the divots, and just give you a better understanding of how to read it, so it'll give you a better understanding of your own golf swing. All right, let's give some perspective here. So I'm at Dairy Creek at the Cal Poly practice area, and you can see behind me the green is sitting right up here, and I'm going to that red flag, which is the first one. And what we're looking at is we got a side slope on that turf that's a little bit right to left, and I also got some wind going from my right to left as well. So if you see that bunker out behind me right there, kind of aiming at the front part of that, right part of that green, and then just letting the ball kind of work from right to left. So that's my aiming point. So the first thing when we're looking at a divot, we're going to look at direction. And direction is super important for, did I hit the shot I thought I was trying to hit? If you're trying to hit a draw, your divot might be going a little bit out to the right of your target line. If you're trying to hit a fade, it might be going out to a little bit to the left of your target line, being a right-handed golfer. Opposite for a left-handed golfer. So you can take a club or you can take an alignment stick, and we can walk in here and kind of look at the direction of that divot and compare it to where we were aiming. And that's pretty close to my target line, right on the right side part of that green up there. So if you're struggling with path with your golf swing and it's not going the direction you think you're starting on, best thing you can do is grab an alignment stick, grab some balls, stick that alignment stick just in front of your golf ball like that, and make sure the alignment stick's starting on the path you want to start it on, and then just hit golf shots. If you're doing this in the grass, that works best. You could do this out on the golf course when you're just out practicing too, and the main thing is just to get your body and your eyes trained to go the direction you want it to go, and hit golf shots so you can visually see the direction the path should be going on compared to your divots and the way your club is moving through the golf ball. So after we've looked at direction, the most important part of looking at your divot, and it's something you've probably already felt when you hit the golf ball, is where you make contact with the turf compared to where the golf ball is. Because we all know the feeling of hitting behind the ball. We pretty much know the feeling of hitting right on the ball, but the feeling we really want to get comfortable doing is hitting in front of that golf ball, so we catch ball then turf. So when you're assessing your divot, you can assess where the ball was originally sitting and where the divot came after that. So next thing we're going to look at is depth of divot. And depth of the divot is kind of important just because that tells you how much spin you're able to put onto the golf ball. So we got two different golf balls here. one with a really shallow divot, you can barely even see that it's there, and then the other one with a deeper divot over here. Now, depending on the type of shot you're trying to hit, you might have wanted a shallower divot. Let's say you're playing into the wind and you want to reduce how much spin you want to put on the golf shot, then a shallow divot might work out perfect. But if you're trying to play it into a green and keep that ball up in the air and get some spin on it, then you'd probably want a deeper divot. So assessing the type of spin you got out of the shot is all based on the depth of the divot. So we can see that the divot closer to you, the divot further away from me, is deeper. So it tells me in my golf swing that I have a steeper attack angle, meaning the angle which the club is coming down towards the golf ball. It's steep, coming in steeper, and it's entering into the ground. So that also tells me that my hands led through that golf hit. So my hands were ahead, creating forward shaft lean into that hit. Now the other shot ball here that's sitting with a very shallow divot, that's telling me that the club came in a shallower attack pattern, and my club was more vertical, maybe slightly forward, since I did get a divot in front of the golf ball, slightly in front of the golf ball with a less forward shaft length, creating a little bit more loft, but it's going to create less spin on the golf ball at the same time. So taking that same concept, and if we look at this divot and we see our impact is behind the golf ball, but you did make a good divot, that is telling you that you had downward angle of attack. When you came into impact with the golf ball, your club was either on the golf ball or possibly behind the golf ball, so your hands might have looked like this at impact. And that would have caused that divot to hit first into the ground and then through to the other side of the golf ball, and that's when you get your heavy shots and the ones that don't feel too good. So the important thing to take away from depth of divot is wherever the butt of the club sits is going to determine where the club is going to be deepest into the ground. Meaning if the club's behind, it's going to be deeper on behind the golf ball. The club is forward shaft leaning and you come into it, it's going to get deeper, and that's how you get to the bottom of that divot in front of the golf ball. So when you look at the impact into the ground, it's all determining. You can kind of give an imagery in your mind of where your hands were at impact when you're compressing, trying to compress that golf ball. So if you got a divot in front, your hands were in front of that golf ball. If you got a divot behind, your hands might have been on top or behind that golf ball. So the last part of assessing your divot is going to be how square that divot is. So if you look at your club and you look at how wide that face of that club is, that is how wide your divot should be if it was nice and square, nice and flat coming into it. Now, if you're a golfer that catches a lot of heel shots, maybe you've heard the term bacon divots, where you get these strips of narrow divot coming across, meaning the heel is catching into the ground first and it's probably turning your face over. You probably see a lot of shots going to the left if you're right-handed, to the right if you're left-handed, and that is telling you your clubs aren't fit for you. It's very difficult to shallow the club to the point where your hands are actually lower than when they originally were, to the point where you get the heel catching the ground first. So if that's the case, go take your clubs in and get fit. If you have softer metal golf clubs, they can actually bend those clubs up for you into a position that will make it so your club can sit and impact the ground flat, because that's going to allow the ball to go straight. If it's sitting there in this position, it's going to go left. So the other way you might see bacon divots is on the toe side, and this is probably more common on the toe side. Now if you see the club come in and you see these toe side divots that are very toe side down, you probably hit a lot of shots towards the toe side of your clubs. that's going to tell you that you have either two problems. One, you got extra lift in those hands, meaning you're probably early extending coming into the ball, and that's going to make that club go vertically more up through there. If you don't see that in your golf swing, then it's a fit issue also. So the club is too flat for you, and your club actually needs to be more upright. Now the opposite if you're catching on the heel. If the heel side is catching, that means the club's too upright for you and it needs to be flatter. So your clubs, when they're fit properly, will create a nice square entry, divot into the ground, and exit fairly square as well. And if you think of it like a dollar bill, if you put a dollar bill down on the ground, that should cover your divot and be about the same shape as what that dollar bill would be. So dollar bill divots is what we're looking for. Golfers, thank you for watching this week. Be a student of your divots. It's very important. Look at where the ball goes and then look at your divot after. Make it a habit of always checking your divot after you hit the shot, and that'll give you your natural feedback very quickly in determining what happened, if something went wrong, if something went right. Just look at the divot. It'll give you a lot of information, and you'll get better at reading them the more you stare at them after you hit your golf shot. Golfers, if you got anything out of this, hit that button down below to subscribe to this channel. I put out videos once a week just to help golfers like you get better at this game. Remember, if your feet aren't working, your swing's not working. I'll catch you guys next time.